No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of Friday Night Smackdown. We are live with a recap of Friday Night Smackdown here on NoDQ.com's YouTube channel and social media outlets. Shout out to everybody watching this live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. And shout out to the early birds. El Pistolero 06, Dave Scheffler, Joey Perez, Walter Cruz, Nick Glavin. I very much appreciate you all. Sun Goshiku is here tonight. I appreciate that. Raymond Williams, CC Drink. Thank you all for tuning in tonight for the No DQ recap. I will also, in addition to recapping SmackDown, I will also be giving my predictions for the 2022 Halloween Havoc Premium Live event. NoDQ.com will have live results coverage. And after the show, I will be back on the YouTube channel for a recap of Halloween Havoc. Now, we'll get into SmackDown first, and then I will give my predictions. We kicked off with Sheamus versus Solo Sikoa of the Bloodline. And as Sheamus was coming out with the Brawling Brutes, we had a little clip of Bray Wyatt flash on the screen, just letting everybody know that he's there. He's in the house, so to speak. We had the Bloodline, Sami Zayn and Jimmy Uso, along with Jey Uso at ringside, along with the Brawling Brutes. Caleb Jacobs sent in a $2.90 super chat, says, I am excited to see what is going on with Bray Wyatt. Thank you for that, Caleb. And I am looking forward to it as well, to see what happens next with Bray Wyatt and if we'll see some other people join his cause, whatever that may be. We'll get to more on Bray in just a few moments. So Sheamus was laid up against the steel steps early on, and Solo drove right into Sheamus's shoulder and continued to target the arm and shoulder throughout the match. Both men ended up on the top rope, and Solo hit a Samoan drop coming off the top, but Sheamus kicked out. Sheamus, with one arm, hit a power slam and then did the 10 beats. Actually, I think he did 16 beats. Solo, however, was able to avoid the bro kick, but instead he got hit with a knee to the face, and then Sami Zayn got on the apron, and a fight broke out with members of the Brawling Brutes and the Bloodline. A table, the announce table specifically, was dumped onto Ridge Holland. Sheamus then came off the top rope to the outside with a double clothesline to the Usos. And then Sheamus tried to get back in the ring, but Sami Zayn grabbed his foot. Solo Sikoa took advantage and hit the spinning Solo to win. The numbers game just was too much for Sheamus and the Brawling Brutes. And then afterwards, the Bloodline continued their attack with steel chairs, and they targeted, once again, while using the chairs, they targeted the bad arm of Sheamus. So is this an injury angle to put Sheamus out of commission for a time being? That remains to be seen. Good opening match here, although the standard distraction finish. They did the big angle afterwards, and maybe this will start to set up Survivor Series with Sheamus and the Brawling Brutes. Maybe Drew McIntyre after Survivor Series will align with his old friend/nemesis. Walter Cruz sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Walter. He says, say yes to No DQ, like, share, hashtag stick to my stick. says, also save me a spot for Crown Jewel predictions. Thanks. And also last week was a better SmackDown. Interesting. Not sure if I agree. Maybe I do. I'm still not sure how I feel about this week's SmackDown until I'm done with the recap, but thank you for that, Walter. I do appreciate it, and we'll get you on for the predictions for sure. Moving on here, we had Rey Mysterio confronting Imperium backstage, and Rey issued a challenge to either Vinci or Kaiser. Kaiser ended up accepting the offer. We then had a Bray Wyatt backstage video where Bray basically wanted to finish what he was trying to say last week before he was interrupted by Uncle Howdy or whatever the mask guy's name is. So Bray talked about revenge being a confession of pain, said he has problems, he has anger problems, he had some confessions, how he wanted to be left alone, but the people wanted him back, so he's back. And he confessed that he is going to do horrible things, but will not feel sorry for them. And I actually agree with Brian in the chat. I was not a fan of the music playing. Like, it's a cool song, but I actually thought like it was mixed too loudly. And I could not hear what Bray was saying at times because the music was louder than Bray's talking. WWE is usually great with production values, but yeah, they mixed in the music too loud in this segment. It could have been a little quieter, in my opinion. But I do like the theme song a lot. And we had a Bloodline backstage segment. Sami Zayn was praising Solo Sikoa for beating Sheamus. And then Jey Uso said they still have more to do because Logan Paul was on his way to SmackDown. Jey wanted to take care of Logan Paul, but Sami Zayn said that Roman Reigns told them to not engage and not do anything to Logan Paul. We had Liv Morgan versus Sonya Deville, and Sonya shoved down Liv Morgan right away, and Liv started laughing. And this became the theme of the match. Liv got in some offense at a backstabber, backslide attempt, but then Sonya caught her with a knee strike, and Sonya started delivering punishment. But then as Sonya continued the offense, Liv started laughing, screamed in Sonya Deville's face, and then the two fought on the outside of the ring. Liv Morgan started going to town on Sonya Deville, smashing Sonya's head into the steel steps, but then Liv was so caught up in the attack, they both got counted out. Liv went for some chairs, threw chairs into the ring. Crowd was chanting, "We want tables," but they had to be fine with just the chairs for this evening. They had to settle for that. And Liv ended up hitting Sonya Deville with a superplex off the top onto the chairs. And the crowd loved this. They popped big for it. And Liv Morgan just kept laughing. So she's kind of like a female Joker where she loves the pain. Maybe like a female Mankind where she just wants the pain and she thrives on it. We had an LA Knight video package, which was cool. I liked it. We also had a little Viking Raiders vignette with Sarah Logan continuing to build up to their return. We had Braun Strowman come into the ring, and he said that he's not easy to miss. He's not hard to find. MVP has been running his mouth. So he called out MVP and Omos. MVP did arrive, and he said that Strowman is in fact a monster, and was the biggest and strongest until last week when Omos showed up in the building. MVP advised Storm to stay away from the literal giant. And then Strowman responded by issuing a challenge for Crown Jewel. And that's when MVP accepted. Omos came down to the ring. There was a stare down, and yes, Omos was quite a bit taller than Strowman. Strowman had to look up at Omos. Very rare does that ever happen. And Omos shoved Strowman out of the ring. Omos then took his leave, proving his point. And yeah, Strowman may have met his match leading up to Crown Jewel. Good segment here with these guys. I mean, the match probably isn't going to be very good, but I thought this was an effective angle to set up the monster versus the giant. We had a backstage promo from Drew McIntyre, and Drew said that karrion Kross has pushed him to his breaking point. Last week, there was that whole car accident. McIntyre went to WWE headquarters. They said this needs to end. And at Crown Jewel, it will be karrion Kross versus Drew McIntyre in a steel cage match. I guess this will be where Drew McIntyre gets his win back. I suppose time will tell. We had a women's tag team title match. Damage Control, Io Sky and Dakota Kai defending against Raquel and Shotzi. Shotzi's a babyface again, but she's basically there to put over the other people. When Shotzi's out there, I tend to think she's taking the fall. But anyways, Io Sky pulled Dakota Kai to the outside to safety, and then Shotzi got on Raquel's shoulders and jumped to the outside of the ring onto Damage Control. Shotzi and Raquel got in some more offense. Bayley was even starting to look a little concerned. Then Dakota tagged into Io Sky. Io hit Shotzi with a drop kick, missile drop kick. Damage Control had the advantage for a while, but then Raquel Gonzalez got a hot tag, hit some fallaway slams. But then Io came off the top rope, hit a DDT. Raquel kicked out of that. Shotzi Blackheart tagged back in. And then there was a little bit of a misstep here for the challengers. Raquel accidentally sent Dakota right into Shotzi as Shotzi was perhaps on the verge of winning the match for her team. She had Io Sky in a pinning combination, but then Dakota fell onto Shotzi and the pin was broken up. And then Bayley got on the apron for her interference, another distraction finish. Io Sky then hit the moonsault and scored the win over Shotzi Blackheart. So no surprise here. Champions retain. Match was fine. Not much else to say about it. Poor Shotzi. I mean, she is a babyface again, has her tank, but she still hasn't really been picking up wins. Basically there to put over other people. Backstage, Ronda Rousey, the SmackDown Women's Champion, cut a promo, said that she doesn't owe the fans anything. She did not come back for them. And she said that they just want their favorites to win, but now they are stuck with the best winning. And she said she'll do an open challenge next week. She just wants to get the hell out of Ohio. By the way, shout out to Noah Foster, who was at SmackDown tonight in Toledo, Ohio. Hope you're doing well, Noah. We'll get you back on for a future video. Maybe Crown Jewel predictions in Country Redacted. We then had a little interruption of the broadcast by Uncle Howdy. And by the way, I think that that's the name of this masked character because there was a recent trademark filing for Uncle Howdy. We then had a backstage promo with Legado del Fantasma and Zelina Vega. Talked about how there's no peers, no competition. They are above everyone else. And they said they're going to continue their legacy by destroying Hit Row. Hit Row had a response to this promo, and B-Fab had an idea, but we did not find out what that idea was. We had Rey Mysterio versus Ludwig Kaiser of Imperium. Rey went for the 619 pretty early on, but Vinci and Gunther got on the apron. Mysterio missed a splash to the outside. That allowed Kaiser to hit an uppercut and take control of the match. Rey, though, was able to hit a Hurricane Rana off the top, started to regain momentum, and you had Gunther and Vinci continuing to distract Rey Mysterio, but Rey, he's a veteran, and he used the page from his old buddy Eddie Guerrero's playbook. He grabbed the chair, threw it at Gunther, and then fell down to the ground on the outside. Referee thought that Gunther was maybe trying to push him some shenanigans, and the referee kicked out Gunther and Vinci. Rey got back in the ring. Kaiser regained control after Rey came off the top rope for a splash, but Kaiser got his knees up. Crowd chanted 619. Rey was able to counter Kaiser, and then Rey did, in fact, hit the 619. And then Rey hit the splash, got the 1-2-3 victory. This was a good match, maybe the best match on the show. I did really like the Sheamus match with Solo Sikoa as well, but I liked this match because, as you guys know, I'm not the biggest fan of all the distraction finishes, and especially the stupid baby faces when they allow the heels to distract them. In this case, Rey Mysterio was a smart baby face, outsmarting the heels, and he picked up the win. So this I really liked, and Rey got a huge pop for his win. This is how you do it. Rey, one of the best ever, and he is a veteran, outsmarting the heels. I'm always a big fan of that. This is how you book it. Good stuff here with these guys. And now Rey builds up momentum heading into his match with Gunther, which I presume is going to be at Crown Jewel. We then had our final segment of SmackDown, and I will be getting to my NXT predictions in just a few moments. Logan Paul came to the ring for a promo, said it feels good to be back in Ohio. The old Mick Foley cheap pop. Said that he is a guy that runs his mouth, but he is confident. And he said he has a desire to be the best. And he said, what if he turns the bloodline into a cleanup crew after he knocks out Roman Reigns? Jey Uso did not appreciate this. Jey Uso got in the ring, sneak attack on Logan Paul, and then Sami Zayn showed up, Sami reminding Jey that Roman Reigns ordered them to not engage with Logan Paul. Oh, Logan Paul is from Ohio, according to Ryan. I did not know that. I had no idea where Logan Paul was from. He could have been from Mars for all I know. But yeah, I guess that explains why Logan Paul got a good reaction this week instead of getting booed. So Jey attempted to continue his attack despite Sami Zayn being out there, and Logan Paul knocked out Jey Uso. Sami Zayn was very upset about this. Logan Paul getting one over on Jey Uso. Pretty solid angle here. I liked it. I guess Logan Paul is just outside of Cleveland. That's where he's from. Well, there you go. And by the way, next week's SmackDown is going to be on FS1 because of the baseball stuff. All in all, SmackDown was a pretty solid show. What did I give it last week? I may have given it a C+. I mean, I was not blown away with last week's SmackDown, and this week's SmackDown I did not think was great either, but it was pretty solid. I think a B- is a fair letter grade for this. It had its moments. Not a must-see SmackDown. Roman Reigns wasn't there, but if you watched it, I think you would enjoy it. I think you would be relatively satisfied with the show. But if you miss it, it's not the end of the world by any means. So yeah, I think B- is appropriate for this. Now, let's get to Halloween Havoc. We have 6 matches for Halloween Havoc, more than the traditional 5 for the old takeovers, but still, 6 is not too bad for a pay-per-view or a premium live event. So we'll go through these matches real quick here. Not going to say too much about them, just give my predictions and overall thoughts. Apollo Crews versus Grayson Waller. Apollo in NXT now. Like, I'm not sure what you do with this guy. Seems to be just there. Like, why is he in NXT? Like, he hasn't been a veteran long enough. Like, for some of these guys that go to NXT, I'm like, you know what? They're there to help elevate the other guys. And I guess that's what Apollo Crews is doing. But it almost feels like a demotion for him being in NXT. So I'm not sure what you do with the guy. But at the same time, Grayson Waller is somebody that they're investing a lot in. So I'm going to go with Grayson Waller, but I am not feeling confident with my prediction. By the way, chat room, leave your predictions. Let me know your thoughts on these matches for Halloween Havoc and your overall thoughts on the premium live event. Now, we have a weapons match, Weapons Wild. It's the spin the wheel, make the deal. It's Cora Jade versus Roxanne Perez. Now, I'm going to go with just the standard thought process. On NXT this past week, Roxanne lost her Pick Your Poison match to Rhea Ripley, and Cora Jade technically won by DQ. So because of that, I'm going to say Roxanne Perez picks up the win, although I feel like she could be fast-tracked to the main roster pretty soon based off of how well received she was on SmackDown last week. We have an ambulance match, Julius Creed versus Damon Kemp, and I guess the stipulation here is if Creed loses, the Creed brothers are gone from NXT. That could very well mean they're being called up, but I think I would wait a little bit longer with them and not call them up just yet. I think they could use a little bit more of the so-called seasoning in NXT. Give them a few more months, bring them in early 2023. So I'm going to say Julius Creed wins and the Creed brothers stay in NXT for the time being. We have the NXT Women's Championship match, Mandy Rose versus Alba Fire. This is an interesting one for me. Mandy Rose has been champion for a very long time now. She's had a dominant run. I'm not even sure how many days it's been. I feel like it's been over a year at this point. But here's the thing. I think it's time. Like, if you're going to do a call-up soon, I think the next call-up should be Toxic Attraction. Quite frankly, I think that it's time. Mandy Rose, JC Jane, Gigi Dolan, they should be on SmackDown. I say put them with Sonya Deville and have a faction. You got Damage Control, and they are on both shows, but I say build up Toxic Attraction as a faction on SmackDown, and maybe even at some point turn Damage Control into faces. That's something you could do too. But yeah, I think you need to get Toxic Attraction on the main roster. Is Alba Fire the one to end the run? I don't know. This is another one I'm torn on. But there's really no sense in Mandy Rose being in NXT at this point. Now, Building Nexus with a $2 super chat says Mandy retains and drops it to Roxanne. Now, see, the thing is, though, I feel like Roxanne is also somebody that's perhaps going to be fast-tracked to the main roster. So I'm going to say Alba Fire wins the title and feuds with Cora Jade for the title, and Cora Jade eventually becomes the champion. Maybe Alba Fire is a transitional champion, but I think like Mandy is going to be back on the main roster pretty soon. Like I just think it's time. She's had a great run, but I think she needs to go back to Raw or SmackDown, and Toxic Attraction needs to be a major presence in the women's division. We have a 5-way ladder match for the North American Championship, which was vacated under stupid terms because Solo Sikoa was not supposed to be the champion and wasn't authorized, whatever, even though we went on SmackDown and defended the title. Really dumb how they set this up. And do we always have to have a ladder match for the North American title? Feels like that's the only stipulation for this damn title is a ladder match. It's kind of the title's trademark, ladder match for the North American title. Like, it's going to be a great match, but I think they're overdoing it just a little bit with these ladder matches. Now, Nathan Frazier is somebody that people are very high on. He's been making some waves as of late. Don't really see Carmelo winning it. He's another guy that I think will be called up pretty soon. He's got to be, one of those guys next in line to be called up. Him and Ricochet would be a hell of a tag team, by the way. They had their match against each other. Them as a team would be pretty awesome. So I don't think it's going to be him. Oro Mensah, I don't even know who he is. Wesley, I know who he is. And I actually think Wesley might be my pick because ever since his tag partner got canned, he's kind of been lost in the shuffle, I think. I think he needs it. Nathan Frazier, he's young. He's on the rise. I don't think he needs it quite yet. I think Wesley just needs something after losing his tag partner. And Von Wagner does nothing for me. I don't think Von Wagner should win this or should be anywhere near the top of the card, quite frankly. He's just not cutting it for me. So I say Wesley wins it. Wesley is the guy that I'm going with. But this one, I mean, it's anybody's guess at this point. I mean, if Von Wagner won it, I would not be surprised one bit. And now we move on to our main event of NXT. Braun Breaker defending against JD and Dragunov. Not going to try to pronounce JD's last name or Dragunov's first name. So I'm just going to say JD and Dragunov. I think Braun Breaker retains here. I think Braun Breaker will be on the main roster fairly soon, but I think it's going to be 2023. He's going to have a little bit longer of a run. Don't see him losing to either of these guys. I still think the guy that's going to beat Braun Breaker, if I had to make a wild guess, would be now I'm not really sure now. Who does beat Braun Breaker? Now, I'm seeing comments about Austin Theory. That could happen, but I think that's a terrible idea. That just waters down Money in the Bank so bad. I mean, on one hand, Austin Theory has no credibility right now, but I mean, you cash in on the NXT guy, just seems ridiculous. I think it's a terrible idea, and I would not be a fan if it happens. Like, really? Really? You're just going to kill the Money in the Bank briefcase like that? Like, it just will devalue Money in the Bank, in my opinion. Not a fan of it whatsoever. So I'm going to say Braun Breaker wins it. Maybe Theory teases something, but I really hope not. I hope it was just a red herring. I really do. Braun Breaker retains and will hold in the title a little bit longer, a couple more months, maybe Royal Rumble time, maybe the end of the year. Maybe we see him drop the title at the December pay-per-view that they are planning, and then Braun Breaker goes on to debut on the main roster at the Royal Rumble. Maybe that's a possibility. But yeah, Braun Breaker retains, and that's that. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. I very much appreciate it. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for live coverage of the Halloween Havoc Premium Live event. And I'll be back after the Premium Live event to give my recap. So tune in for that. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, tell a friend, spread the word, tell a friend about NoDQ. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy Halloween Havoc. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com, and I'll see you all next time.